What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the greatest basketball player of all time. That is Michael Jeffrey Jordan, and I'm going to be giving you guys 10 reasons why Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Now, before I dive in, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you can, give this video a thumbs up, because that'll help me out tremendously. Also, if you find this video very informative, send it to other people who think Jordan is the GOAT, or doesn't think he's the GOAT. I think this video will change a lot of minds, and even reassure things you already believe. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So first up at number 10 of why I think MJ is the GOAT is because he is the greatest scorer in NBA history. When it comes to scoring, Jordan is first in regular season points per game, he's first in playoff points per game, and he's first in finals points per game. He has the most seasons averaging over 30 points per game, and he also has the most playoff runs averaging over 30 points per game. And when it comes to the playoffs, Jordan is also impressive, having the most 50-point games as well as the most 40-point playoff games. He has the most consecutive 10-point games in NBA history at 1,041, that is playoffs and regular season included. He also never scored under 15 points in a playoff game, and he has more 50-point playoff games than he has sub 20-point playoff games, another impressive scoring feat. Also on MJ's resume, he's a 10-time scoring champion, the most ever. He won 7 consecutive scoring titles, also the most ever, and he led the playoffs in scoring 10 different times, again the most ever, with 6 of those years being consecutive, again the most ever. And Jordan in his career averaged over 40 points per game in a playoff series 5 different times, and he's responsible for 5 of the 7 highest scoring playoff series in NBA history. And when it comes to the NBA Finals, he has the highest points per game average for a final series at 41 points per game, and the cherry on top, he also has the highest scoring playoff game in NBA history at 63 points. So that is why I think Jordan is the greatest scorer of all time. Now, in addition to being a great scorer, Jordan was also dominant on the defensive end, and that is reason number 9. Jordan was dominant on both ends of the court, offense and defense, making 9 all-defensive first teams, the most ever in NBA history. He was an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, and he was the first player to ever accomplish that feat. He was also the first player to ever have 200 steals and 100 blocks in a single season, and he is still the only player in NBA history with multiple 200 steal, 100 block seasons. In addition to that, he led the NBA in steals 2 times, and he has the second most blocks in NBA history for a shooting guard. And in his prime, he could guard 1 through 4 fairly effectively. He couldn't guard 5s, but 1 through 4, he could definitely hold those guys. And at his absolute peak, he was explosive, had great quickness, and he was a dynamic defender. And later on in his career, he was a much smarter defender, had a much higher basketball IQ and a defensive IQ. He was more measured, he didn't gamble, but still he was a great team defender as well as a great individual defender, and that separates Jordan from all the other great players in NBA history. Now, something else that separates Jordan from virtually every other player in NBA history is that he never folded in the finals, and that is reason number 8. If you go through NBA history and look at the top 10 players of all time, all those guys had a down moment in the finals. Tim Duncan in 2013 had the horrible missed layup. Magic in '84, he choked numerous times at the free throw line, as well as driven the clock out. Bird in '81 did not play up to his great standards. LeBron in 2011 absolutely choked. Kobe in '04 shot his team out of the series. And Kareem in '84 looked old, and he looked washed on the biggest stage. For Jordan, you simply cannot look to any moment in the finals where he didn't show up for his team in '91 through '98, being a 6-time champion and winning all 6 of those times. Now, something else very impressive at reason number 7 is that Jordan is the best playoff performer in NBA history. When it comes to the playoffs, he's the all-time leading points per game scorer. He has the most points ever in a playoff run. He has the most 30-point games in a playoff run. He has the most 40-point games in a final series. He has the most playoff runs averaging over 30 points per game. He has the most series averaging 40-plus points per game. He has the highest scoring average in the finals, as well as the highest scoring average for a final series. He was only outscored in 1 playoff series ever. That was his first ever series, and he only averaged less than 30 points per game 1 time in his career for a playoff run, and that was also his rookie year, where he averaged 29 a game. Also, some great evidence of why Jordan is the greatest playoff performer of all time. He has the most 50 and 40-point playoff games. He has the most consecutive 10-point playoff games in NBA history at 1,072, and if you're keeping count, Jordan in his career only played 1,072 games, so yes, he never scored under 10 points in a playoff game. And I think when you talk about Jordan in the playoffs, he was always an unstoppable force, a great scorer, a great all-around player on defense, passing, rebounding. He could do it all for your team. And the only way you could stop Jordan is if you played like the Pistons or like the Knicks, and you had 4 guys focusing on him at all times. If you didn't have a great team defense and a great team chemistry, you weren't even going to compete with Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So all those reasons are why I would say that Jordan is the greatest player performer of all time. Now at reason number 6, we have the fact that Jordan dominated his era. From 91 to 98, Jordan won 4 MVPs, 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, a 6-time scoring champion. He made first team All-NBA and first team All-Defense 6 times. And his team during that stretch was absolutely dominant. They won 60 plus games all but 1 year, and 2 of those years they won 72 games and 69 games. And during that whole stretch from 91-98, when the Bulls had Jordan playing, they never lost 3 games in a row, whether that be the regular season or the playoffs. An absolutely staggering stat. And when Jordan was playing, his Eastern Conference was one of the toughest conferences in NBA history. You had Ewing's Knicks, Larry Johnson's Hornets, Mark Price and Brad Daugherty's Cavs, you had Shaq and Penny on the Magic, Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning on the Heat, you had Mutombo's Hawks, and Reggie Miller's Pacers. Some all-time great teams that Jordan prevented from winning championships. And if you want to know how dominant Jordan was with his team during that stretch, they were 19-1 versus the East, 6-0 versus the West, 25-1 versus the NBA. They beat 10 50-win teams and 7 60-win teams. The NBA at this time had absolutely no chance with Michael Jordan on the Chicago Bulls. And if you still doubt how good Jordan's competition was that he dominated, I want you to look at this. Out of the toughest playoff runs in NBA history, ranked by opponents' win percentage, Jordan's Bulls have 3 out of the top 10 toughest playoff runs in NBA history: the 97 Bulls, the 98 Bulls, and the 93 Bulls. The only other team that has 3 runs in the top 10 is Kobe's Lakers. So that right there goes to show you that Jordan had some tough competition, and he still dominated that great competition. So that is reason number 6 of why Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Now at reason number 5, we have the fact that he never created a super team. And like I said, Jordan was playing the tough Eastern Conference, and early on in his career, he was getting beat down by the Celtics as well as the Pistons numerous times. And during that time, he did not leave Chicago and go form another dominant super team. He stayed with the Bulls and he stuck with the process, and he ended up winning 6 championships because of that. Other modern superstars like LeBron, KD, Kawhi, they have left their team numerous times to go form other teams with other All-Stars. Jordan simply did not do that. He stuck with his team and his one All-Star teammate, that being Scottie Pippen. And that kind of segues to another point, that Jordan never played on a super team, and I'm going to say that twice. Jordan never played on a super team. He played on a really good team that made some good draft picks and some good free agent moves. But those Bulls teams were not a super team. The first three-peat Bulls were a team that was built around Jordan with a young Scottie Pippen who was entering his prime. The role players they had were decent role players. You had guys like B.J. Armstrong, John Paxson, Bill Cartwright, Scott Williams, and Horace Grant, who's underrated. But outside of that, you did not have much help for Jordan, and that team was not a dominant super team. Now, when talking about the second three-peat Bulls, they did add Dennis Rodman, but still they were not a super team. And Rodman at this time was still a great defender, but he was not in his absolute prime. His prime was on the Detroit Pistons, not on the Chicago Bulls. And this Bulls team also, once again, had Scottie Pippen, but this time Pippen was older, and he dealt with a lot of injuries during the second three-peat. You had Ron Harper, who was a solid defender, Steve Kerr, a solid shooter. You had Tony Kukoc off the bench, a great sixth man. You had Luke Longley, a solid big man. And that Bulls three-peat team was undoubtedly a great team, but they were not a super team. And Michael Jordan, he never played on a super team, and he never joined a super team. Now at reason number 4, we have the fact that Jordan is the most clutch player in NBA history. And if you go through all the film, you can find numerous times where Jordan hit clutch game-winning shots. And if you want to look to the NBA Finals, Jordan has some iconic moments. Of course, in '98, he had the amazing shot and that entire amazing sequence down the stretch. In '97, he had the buzzer beater in Game 1, and he also had a clutch 3 in Game 5 of that series, which was the flu game. And if you look at other forgotten moments, in the '91 Finals, he had a big-time shot that tied the game and sent it to overtime. In '92, he had the series-clinching free throws that gave the Bulls their second championship. In '93, he had numerous clutch plays on the stretch, and he had all but 2 of the Bulls' points in that fourth quarter. Now, that right there is just watching the games and seeing how good Jordan was, but if you want the actual stats of how clutch Jordan was, I'm going to show you right now. And unfortunately, these stats only go back to '97, so we don't have data for Jordan's prime. But just looking at Jordan's stats in the clutch and his fourth quarter stats in the '97 as well as the '98 playoffs, here is what you get. Jordan, for both these runs, keep in mind both these runs, was first in fourth quarter points per game, first in fourth quarter total points, first in fourth quarter finals points per game, first in fourth quarter total finals points, first in clutch points per game, which would last 5 minutes a game with a score within 5 points. He was first in total clutch points, and he was also first in total clutch time points in the finals. And keep in mind, that is for both the '98 as well as the '97 playoff run. No other player in NBA history was first in all those categories for a single playoff run besides Michael Jordan, and he did that twice back to back. So if you want to go the stat route on who's the most clutch, that right there is some damning evidence. Now, another thing I want to look at is how Jordan performs in the big-time games. In Game 7's Jordan for his career only went to 3, but in those games, he averaged 34, 8, and 7. In elimination games, Jordan averaged 31, 8, and 7, once again, very good. And in the final game of a series, whether that be a Game 5 in the first round or Game 7, Jordan averaged 37 points per game, 7.2 boards, and 6.6 assists. So Jordan definitely showed up in the big-time clutch games. Now, at reason number 3, we have the fact that Jordan is the most influential player in NBA history. And entering the league, Jordan was drafted in '84, and that was with Magic and Bird still in the league. And after they retired, he took the torch and became the face of the NBA. And with Jordan being the face of the league, he took the game global at the '92 Olympics. He was the most famous American athlete at the time, and he revolutionized what it meant to be an athlete on and off the court, with endorsements as well as shoe deals. And Jordan, he really was the first global NBA star who was known worldwide. And the NBA today would not be the same if it was not for Michael Jordan having a huge influence on the international basketball culture. And I think one thing that Jordan had an underrated impact in is that he showed teams as well as GMs that you don't need a big man to win a championship. Prior to Jordan winning 6 championships, it was common knowledge you needed a dominant big man to win. You needed a guy like Wilt, Moses, Bill Russell, Kareem, Hakeem. You needed a dominant big man to win championships. And Jordan, he changed that, and he revolutionized what it meant to be a score-first guard. And he had a huge impact on guys like Kobe, Vince Carter, T-Mac, Allen Iverson, all guys who would go on to influence future generations. So I think Jordan, being the most influential player of all time, only contributes to his case as the GOAT. Now, at reason number 2 of why Jordan is the GOAT is because he has so many iconic and memorable moments. I'm going to name a couple, but there's just tons and tons of iconic games as well as iconic moments. The first one I can think of is his game winner in the national championship at UNC when he was a freshman. Now it's kind of the start of Jordan becoming a superstar not only in college, but also for NBA fans. The 8-8 slam dunk contest is also iconic. He had the free throw line dunk that won the contest versus Dominique. He had the 55-point game, the double nickel in Madison Square Garden, only a few games after his comeback. He has the playoff record 63 points versus the Boston Celtics, the most ever in NBA history, and he did that against 5 Hall of Famers. He has the shrug game in the finals, where he had 6 threes in the first half, including a record 35 first half points. He had the game in '91 where he switched hands in midair for absolutely no reason, just another iconic moment for Michael Jordan. And the last 3 iconic Jordan moments that really stick out to me are the flu game in '97, when the Bulls were down 16 points, but Jordan would find a way to score 38 points including a clutch three-pointer that would give the Bulls a Game 5 victory. And of course, you have the shot over Craig Elo, one of the most iconic moments in sports history. He fakes right, goes left, hangs in the air, holds his pose, shoots it, nothing but net, and he fist pumps at the end. Just an iconic and extraordinary moment. But the most iconic moment in Jordan's career, and possibly in NBA history, and is definitely up there for sports history, is Jordan's last shot as a Bull in Game 6 of the '98 Finals. And everyone knows this shot, drives right, pulls back, and hits nothing but net, and gives the Bulls their 6th championship. Just another iconic moment for the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Now, the last reason I have of why Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time is the fact that he has the highest peak in NBA history from 1987 to 1993. And during this stretch, Jordan was the most athletic player in the NBA, could dunk on anybody, had great handles, great shooting ability. He was actually a good three-point shooter, a great mid-range shooter, and a good free throw shooter, and he could score at all 3 levels. Also, during this run, Jordan was at his defensive peak, and he was an absolute menace on the defensive end. When it came to shot blocking, he was a great shot blocker. When it came to getting the passing lanes and getting steals, he was also amazing at that. He was also an underrated rebounder on the defensive glass as well as the offensive glass. So prime Jordan from 87 to 93, that in my opinion is the best basketball player of all time, and right now I'm going to prove that to you. During this stretch, Jordan was 7-time first-team All-NBA, 6-time All-Defensive First Team. He was a 1-time Defensive Player of the Year. He also won MVP that same season. A 7-time scoring champion, all those being in a row, and a 3-time MVP. And when it came to playoffs, Jordan averaged 35 points per game, 6 assists, 7 boards, 2.3 steals, and 1 block game on 50, 36, and 84 splits. He had no flaws in his game. And when it came to the NBA Finals, Jordan was even better than he was in the overall playoffs. As in the finals, he averaged 36 points per game, 7.8 assists, 6.6 boards, 2.0 steals on 53, 42, and 81 splits. Once again, great all around, and during this time, he won 3 championships and won 3 finals MVPs. And in each of those final series, Jordan showcased something different about his game. In 91, he averaged 11.4 assists, the most ever for a non-point guard or a player not named Magic Johnson. In the 92 finals, he shot 43% from 3 after the media said he couldn't shoot it, and in 93, he averaged 41 points per game, an NBA Finals record. So that right there is why I would say Jordan had the greatest peak in NBA history. And after that, that is my 10 reasons of why I say Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. And I know this video was pretty long and pretty lengthy, had a lot of facts, a lot of data, but I think this video definitely had to be made. And if you watch this video to the end, I do really hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it, getting all the facts, all the numbers, and just kind of making my overall argument of why Jordan is the greatest player of all time. So if you did like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, as I'll greatly appreciate that, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.